From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. A warmer, drier future for Colorado has many people wondering about their lawns. Drought and heat turn lawns brown or kills them altogether. So how can we sustain a lawn with less water and less mowing? And should we keep a lawn at all? Tony Koski is a professor of horticulture and landscape architecture at Colorado State University. He teaches a class on growing a lawn that is resilient in the face of climate change. He joined me to talk about how we can create a lawn that will thrive in a hotter, drier climate. Tony is especially enthusiastic about one type of grass called Bermuda grass that he says is well equipped to survive in Colorado's changing climate.
The hotter it is, the happier it is. Hot days make it happy. Hot nights make it happy.
Let's say I already have a Kentucky bluegrass lawn and I want to start over to get a more sustainable option. How do you recommend I get the existing grass out?
Well, one of the first things before you start that is to have a plan for the entire landscape, because that's going to make it more sensible for which grass you do take out. When you're going to switch from one grass to another, it's best to get rid of the existing grass so there's no competition for the new stuff you want to introduce. You can do that by what we call a total renovation, where you go in and you would kill all the grass that's there. An unpopular but probably the most efficient and effective way to do that is to use Roundup. And I know that's a very controversial topic, and I won't try to convince people to do it or not to do it. But if you choose not to, it gets to be more difficult, and probably the most effective alternative is something called solarization, where you cover the lawn with a clear plastic, and basically you bake the lawn for about 5 or 6 weeks during the summer. That kills the old grass, it kills weed seeds, it kills insect pests, and you're starting off with kind of a pretty clean slate to plant that new grass into.
Okay. Let's talk about some other types of grass. You mentioned buffalo grass. You also recommend Bermuda grass for our changing Colorado climate. Tony, why is this an ideal grass for this region?
Yeah, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been saying this. 20 years ago, I had been said that's crazy talk to do Bermuda grass. I'm seeing grasses growing in Colorado that 35 years ago when I started were not growing anywhere in Colorado. But things are just so warmer. The summers are longer and warm that we can grow different grasses. And one of them that's a really good long grass alternative is Bermuda grass. And in particular, what we call the cool season or cold tolerant Bermuda grasses.
Okay.
And probably the most popular one is called Tahoma 31. Developed by Oklahoma State University, and it requires probably half the water a bluegrass lawn or a fescue lawn will require.
Oh, half the water. That's very, that's encouraging.
And half the mowing.
Okay.
Probably half the fertilizer. So you're saving a lot of resources by converting to this cold hardy Bermuda grass.
That all sounds good. How do I start off right when planting and growing a new Bermuda grass lawn?
Well, you want to start off early in the year. So we're getting to the point where unless you start this week, we might be getting a little bit late in the process. But if you can start that process in June, it makes a whole lot easier and safer from the perspective of getting the grass to survive.
Okay. And can I do seed?
No, there's no seed for these cold hardy Bermuda grasses, at least the good quality Bermuda grasses. So the Tahoma 31 only is sold as sod. Some places you can get it sold as what we call sprigs or plugs, but most Tahoma 31 is planted as sod. And we've got 4 sod growers across the front range of Colorado that will grow and install that Bermuda grass sod for you.
Okay. How important is it to install an irrigation system with my new lawn?
Yeah, good question. I think it's vitally important, even though The cold hardy Bermuda requires much less water than bluegrass does. You do need irrigation, and the better the irrigation system is, the better the coverage.
Tony, you mentioned earlier on how it's possible to have a carbon negative lawn, meaning the carbon that stays in your lawn is greater than the emissions from maintaining it. I have never heard of this concept before today. With all of the mowing and the watering, how is it possible to have a carbon negative lawn?
Yeah, well, it's some of our electric mowers, the new electric mowers are much more energy efficient, even though eventually you're using the sun to charge those and you're using batteries and that type of thing.
Right.
They are more efficient than gasoline engines. Even the gas-powered mowers are more efficient than a gas-powered mower you'd get 5 years ago. The fertilizers you use, the companies that use the processes to create the fertilizer is much more energy efficient. So using what we call smart irrigation controllers to where they take over the irrigation, the timing and the frequency and all that type of thing. And that technology does exist to help you have a more efficient lawn.
Tony, a decade or two from now, do you think we'll still see a lot of homes along the Front Range with lawns?
Yes, 20, 30 years from now, we'll have yards with lawns. We're still going to have kids that like to play, in the backyard. We're still going to have dogs. We're still going to have a need for those kids and those pets and even adults. We'll still have lawns. We're just going to have to manage them more intelligently.
Yeah. Well, I know, Tony, you get a lot of calls from the public in your work with CSU Extension about how to have a sustainable lawn. What is the number one thing you want people to think about if they're considering this?
If you're able to start a new lawn, give a lot of thought to what grass you're going to put in because it's going to drive your life for the next 10, 20 years, however you live in that house. Make a wise decision there. And above all, no matter what kind of grass it is, maintain your irrigation system, fine-tune it, make sure the heads are working so you're not watering the street, make sure you don't have leaks in the system. Just learn how to run that controller so that it's not set on autopilot, wasting water when it's cool and underwatering when it's hot, that type of thing.
Tony Koski is a professor and turfgrass specialist with CSU Extension. I always feel really guilty when my lawn looks a little bit brown, but maybe I should be okay with that. It sounds like.
Yeah, be okay with it. Yep. Perfection should not be your goal with your lawn. There's a lot of other areas of your life you'd want to strive for perfection, I think.
But not with the grass.
Not with the grass.
If you'd like to learn about how to overhaul your lawn for a warmer climate, we'll include a link to some helpful information from Tony and his colleagues at the CSU Extension in our show notes and at KUNC.org. That's it today for In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks so much for listening.